Kathryn Turpin, and I'm going to be speaking a little bit about a provision that appears in every agreement for the purchase and sale of a business. So I help my clients all the time with buying a business or selling all or a part of their business. Now, the buyer and seller spend quite a bit of time discussing and finalizing the purchase price, but I don't think they spend enough time really discussing and finalizing the payment terms, or how the purchase price is going to be paid. Now, the ideal solution for the seller is if the buyer pays 100% of the cash at closing. But often that means that the buyer has to get outside financing, which takes time and might be kind of costly for the buyer. The ideal solution for the buyer is if the seller will accept a small cash down payment, like 10%, and then a promissory note for the remaining purchase price, payable out over 5 to 7 years. And obviously a seller may not be too keen on that idea. So here's a couple of suggestions for how a buyer and seller can agree upon payment terms. So one idea is if the buyer offers to pay the seller additional consideration based upon how the business performs over the next 1 to 3 years after closing. And this is generally called earn-out consideration. And the performance metrics used for earn-out consideration can be revenues, or if the business meets certain EBITDA thresholds, or maybe even if the business is able to retain a certain number of percentage of customers or employees. Let me give you an example. If the remaining purchase price to be paid to the seller is $1 million, the buyer may offer the seller a promissory note for $850,000 plus an agreement to pay the seller up to an additional $300,000 if the business meets certain performance metrics over the next 3 years. So this is great for both the buyer and the seller. For the buyer, it has the confidence knowing that it's not going to overpay for a business that's not performing after closing. And for the seller, it may make a lot more money from the sale of its business than it really anticipated. Now, a seller may not be interested in earn-out consideration that is based upon a period of time too long after closing unless the seller is involved in the business. So that's why an earn-out consideration is ideal if the seller is going to be providing transition services, or maybe is going to continue working for the business as an employee for the buyer for 1 to 3 years. I hope this talk has been useful and maybe even interesting, and we'd be happy to help you if you're looking to buy a business or to sell all or part of your business. Thank you.